What is up, everybody? It's your boy Duty back again with another video. That's right, folks, and it's that time again for your favorite segment, my favorite segment, everyone's favorite segment, where we take a look at DSP Gaming's finances and ensure that our boy Phil has enough liquidity and fluidity for his day off. That's right, folks. And you know, every day, every week, on his day off, we take a look at both DSP Gaming and DSP Reacts, and we take a look at the income sources of super chats and tips. And we do a review, and then we do a week-to-week comparison, and then of course we do a year-to-year comparison to see how well the business is thriving. And everyone knows that Phil is a business, and Phil's business is of course all about making the most money he can. And we saw that this week when of course he brought out the old favorite, your favorite, my favorite, everyone's favorite, the two big bills. That's right, Phil actually brought out the big guns for this week to do a bag. That's right. And I'm curious to see if it paid off for Phil. I'm very curious to see that. And spoiler alert, it didn't. It just did not pay off for Phil. And but we'll get into it. So let's start off by looking at the numbers. And of course, the work week began on October 6th and spanned it all the way through October 11th. So Phil had 6 work days. That's right, air quote work days, where he streamed, of course, 12 times. And you know, it's his normal pattern of support. Essentially, one week he does meh, another week he does terrible, and then another week he does meh. And we follow that pattern here, folks. So as you guys know, Phil came on early this week and brought out the big heavy guns with the excuse of my two big bills that are coming out. And of course, on top of the additional $5,000 in business expenses he normally has month to month, he has more expenses because he has to buy more games. And of course, he came out and he flat out begged. He said, hey guys, if you're going to give me money, give me tips. Forget about memberships, forget about super chats, give me tips. And I guess you can say the dents did comply. So let's take a look at the numbers. For the work week of October 6th through the 11th, Phil pulled in $950 in tips. Compare that to last week, which was $840. So he did see an increase of about $110. And of course, that's mainly due in part to NDO's $115 tip, and Haseo dropping 2 tips of about 50 and 40 bucks. So again, this just reiterates my my opinion, and I think it's more than an opinion. It's actually factual now. We can say it's a fact that Phil is propped up by 3 or 4 whales. His channel is hinging on the generosity of strangers. He has no other income sources whatsoever. I mean, he does get ad revenue, but that's abysmal, using one of Phil's terms. So, I mean, Phil is on the verge of catastrophic failure if one of his dents just decides to leave. And I'm talking about OIC, 1 Minute Man, someone that actually contributes consistently and supports him with membership tips, super chats. If one of them leave, it's donezo for Phil. It is. So, okay, he made $950 for the work week and tips compared to $840 from the previous week, of an increase of about $110. And then in super chats, of course, Phil made $239 this week. And then last week he made $348, a decrease of $109. So Phil increased his tips by $110, but his super chats dipped by $109. So you guys know I use the analogy all the time of, you know, you steal from Peter to pay Paul, and that's what you're doing here, folks. The dents are just shuffling money around. There's no new money coming in. It's just money shuffling around. So yes, he got more tips, but his super chats got significantly decreased. So for the total work week for the super chats and the tips, Phil made $1,189. Last week he made $1,188. So he made a net profit or a net increase of $1. He brought out the big guns, the two big bills. He brought out the business expenses. He even brought up that YouTube would be paying him on Saturday, which means he won't be getting his check until several days later. He brought out all the heavy guns and managed to make $1 more in revenue this week. $1. That tells me a lot. That tells me that I think the dents are getting tired of the whale calls. They're getting tired of the faint distress. You know, I know Phil loved to say, oh, it's been a long time since I did one of these, beg sessions where I asked my dents to give me tips instead of memberships or whatever. It's been a long time. No, it hasn't, Phil. It hasn't. You do it regularly. And of course, you can just watch my content. You can actually just, you can post beg for a search in my channel history, and you will just see consistently 2 to 3 times a week, Phil is requesting some type of support, whether it be memberships, whether it be tips, whether it be super chats, or whether it be the 3 across the board. Phil does that at least 3 or 4 times a week minimum. But of course, here, this was an actual segment where matter of fact, wait. Last month, he did a big beg con when his tips were abysmal. Remember when he was making about $600 a week? And he actually came on and did a beg alert? That was a month ago, Phil. So this bullshit that you try to claim that you haven't done it in a long time is false. And of course, we have proof of it. Just go to my channel, type in beg for search for videos, and you will see the pudding. The proof is in the pudding, folks. So yeah, so all that just for an additional $1. Yeah, mind you, he did get $110 more for tips, which he has to spend this weekend. But it's gonna hurt him when he gets his paycheck next month. So again, there's no revenue increase. It's just Phil muttering along, and doing okay and doing bad. Those are the 2 options for Phil, and it's been that way all year. He either does okay or he does poorly. There are no other options here, and we're gonna take a look at the numbers and do a comparison year over year, and you're gonna see that fact played out and just shown. And again, the numbers don't lie, folks. They don't lie. Now, yeah, I admit that I'm looking at a subsection of income, and I'm not taking into account memberships and memberships and ad revenue. But those memberships and ad revenue are minimum. They're not the big heavy hitters for Phil. Phil gets most of his support, most of his money from tips and super chats. He just does. And as you can see here by the numbers, I mean, he's at about, I think, $60,000 or $70,000 so far this year, and we know that Phil makes on average about $120K a year. But we'll get into that once we do the year-to-year comparison. Okay, so as we can see here, Phil did not fare good at all with the bag at all. Seriously. So the other thing here that I want to take a look at is that so far for the month of October, Phil has made $1,818. Now, mind you, we're already 2 weeks into we're already 2 weeks into the month. So if these numbers hold fast, Phil will probably make about $3,600 to $3,800 this week, which would be, again, one of his lowest income months in the last 6 or 7 months. It just seems like a pattern here. Like in September, he did okay. He was back up to $5,186. But if you compare that to last year, it's nowhere near. I think last year he made over $7,000 in September. And don't forget, this is the hardcore gaming season where Phil, tells everyone that more viewers, more people come out to check out his channel, people come to support. That's not happening this year. It just isn't. It's just not. And if these numbers keep holding at where they're at, Phil's gonna have a pretty crappy October. He is. And that tells me I can envision several major marathons in November to try to make up for this lost income. That's right. And then views, we haven't tracked that yet, but as we know, for September, he did abysmal. He was at 588,000, which was his lowest mark in ever, I believe ever, since he's been a content creator. 588,000 was the lowest he ever made. And don't forget, these are 2 channels, DSP Gaming and DSP Reacts. So I looked at the numbers the other day, and they're about on par. He's gonna be close to about 580, 600,000. I think that's his low mark. I think his low mark is 550,000 views, and that's just because I think he has those, 70,000 videos on his channel, and those get some residual income. Not much, but I mean residual views. Not much, but it still adds to a number. Can you imagine if those videos were non-existent, and let's just say he had his videos just for the last like 2 or 3 years? Phil's view numbers would be like would be horrific. They would be like 100,000, 200,000 views a month. That's how bad it would be. So yeah, so let's take a look at the income for the year, and let's do a comparison from 2023 to 2021. So far this year, Phil has managed to pull in $42,682. Compared to last year for tips, he pulled in for the same time period, he pulled in $51,451, a net decrease of 17%. If you guys remember last week and the week before that, 17% was the same exact number. So Phil is just treading water. He's not going anywhere. He's not increasing his revenue at all. At this point, I don't think there's no way Phil can hit his 2022 income. There's no way. There's no way he can do it. I mean, 17% is significant, and being that he only has about 2 months left, 2.5 months left in the streaming year, I don't envision him even getting remotely close. In Super Chats, Phil pulled in so far this year $17,241, compared to $20,805 from last year, for again another net decrease of 17%. And then total income this year, Phil pulled in $59,923 compared to $72,256 from last year, for a net decrease yet again of 17%. Now again, I mentioned that Phil makes about $120,000 a year. He's, if he averages, at this time 72,000, well, that's what he did last year, you can justify that he makes about 100 grand. He makes about $90,000 to $95,000 in tips and super chats, which again is his bulk income. And we know his ad revenue is dog shit just because his views have been low. Yes, you can correlate ad revenue by views. You can. For every 1,000 views, you get roughly about $2 or $3 in ad revenue. And being that Phil's views are abysmal on both his channels, his ad revenue significantly took a huge dip this year. That's been balanced a little bit with memberships, because he has had a good amount of good amount of memberships this year. He's averaged between 4 and 550 members a month, which is more than what he did last year. So the ad revenue to membership kind of balance itself off. So yeah, these are good numbers for Phil. And again, when he normally comes out and pulls out the big guns, the two big bills, YouTube isn't paying me on the 21st, they're paying me later. That usually moves some of the whales to come in and support Phil. And that just did not happen this week. Haseo came out and dropped two decent sized tips. OIC was gone all week. He provided nothing whatsoever. OIC was actually busy on my stream giving me super chats, which is interesting. And yeah, I mean, it's just 1 Minute Man. That's it, 1 Minute Man. And Hoseo came in from time to time, and even Jinx. That's right, Jinx came in and dropped $100 donation and then gave some memberships. And then he got ghosted. He's gone. He's nowhere to be found. So yeah, I mean, again, numbers do not lie, and I just find it so interesting that Phil pulled out all the big guns this week, and it managed him a net increase of $1 from the previous week, and what he received last week was pretty bad too. So yeah, if these trends continue, October is going to be another bad month for Phil. And again, let's not forget, hardcore gaming season, where Phil is supposed to generate a significant amount of income, and it's just not coming to fruition. Season 15 is fire. The writers have been awesome, and they've given us so many storylines. We still have 2.5 months to go. I wonder what else will happen this year, folks. You guys stay tuned. I will be here to chronicle the stories of Phil and make everyone aware and bring awareness to DSP. All right, folks, that's all I have. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace out.